Good evening, everybody tonight. Welcome. This is Arun Mehra, and tonight I'd like to welcome everybody to this 5-day set of webinars that I'll be hosting tonight and over the next 5 days, 1 hour per evening, and it's called 5 Hours to Transform Your Dental Practice Profits. Now, the idea of this whole webinar came from, or this series of webinars came from me seeing that how can I reach as many people as possible in a time zone that help them. So we've got people in the UK, we've got people in Australia, we've got people, I think, in India, and I think a few people even in the USA as well. So we've got a bunch of people all over the place, either signed up or tuned into this webinar tonight. And my plan of action is to run through tonight. The topic of tonight is what profitable practices do right, and I'll be going into some depth on that over the next 45 minutes to an hour. If you've got any questions, please do fire away on the chat system that's there, and I will try and answer those questions as we go through. This webinar is being recorded, so you will be able to get watch a copy of this at a later date if you wish. That's not a problem as well. But really want to get the message out there to as many people as well as possible from my experience and seeing how practices have done, how they do, ones that have done well, the ones that haven't done well, but to share my knowledge to a wider audience. So I do have a bunch of slides that I will go through, which I prepared earlier, but at the same time, I may go off on a tangent if there's anything I think it's relevant to discussing on this particular subject. So let me just find these slides. Hopefully we can get these up. Bear with me a second. Hopefully you can see these slides. Let me just double check again. All right, we're in business, I think. I can see my green box, so bear with me a second. This technology is not my strongest point, so bear with me a second. Okay, what profitable practices do right? Now, if there's any questions, please fire away. If there's a problem you can't see the slides, please do let me know. But I will fire away. So, as probably all of you know, my name's Arun, and I'm the MD of the Smera Group. We're chartered accountants, practice sales experts, and financing experts. The latter two we've come into in the last 2 years. We're now helping people raise finance for acquisitions of clinics or expansion of clinics. We're also very active in the practice sales space. So if you're looking to buy further practices or looking to sell your practice, we're also involved very heavily in that market and growing at a very, very nice rate. At the same time, a lot of my experience, which I'm going to be sharing tonight, actually comes from not just being a dental accountant, dental advisors, but also by being a hands-on owner of the Neemtree Dental Group. And I've learned hands-on a lot of the issues, a lot of the mistakes, but a lot of the experience from running a dental group with my wife, Smita. I've been working for 15 years with dentists nationally. My background is definitely entrepreneurship and business. I'm a trained chartered accountant with PwC in London, which seems like many years ago, and vice president of Bank of America. So I've got a various commercial background, but tonight it's all about dentistry and the issues that are facing dentists and how to grow a profitable practice in this environment. So tonight I've got, I think, 11 tips that I'm going to go through, and hopefully you'll get a better understanding of what I'm talking about and the points I'm trying to get across to you. Okay, so let's move on. Just make sure everything. So these are some figures that you may have seen before, but I just want to go back to this. I'm an accountant, so I do need to dwell on a few figures for a moment. Okay, turnover of an average practice is around 445,000, which is usually what, 2 to 3 people working in a practice. This is an average, so it includes private and NHS. Then we've got expenses such as lab bills, about 7.3%, material costs 7.9%, staff costs approximately 17%, other overheads so around 20%. So this leaves a net profit of around 25% for the average type of practice. Now, you might be saying, well, that's not actually too bad. Well, it isn't too bad, but we have clients who do significantly better. We also have clients, to be honest, who do significantly worse than this, okay? So it's trying to get that mixture right, that right percentage of lab bills, or the right percentage of material costs, right percentage of marketing, right percentage of staff costs. What's the right balance? And in truth, there is no right or wrong answer. It's all about building a business which is in tune with your vision, with your aspirations, and then adding those elements to it, such as the lab costs, material costs, staff costs, and hopefully you'll be able to do it. But as you can see, the average practice does pretty well. But in my mind and in my opinion, the market is most definitely getting more competitive. You look around places like London, Manchester, more and more marketing, more and more of dental practices, more and more competition amongst dental practices. So you really got to up your game in terms of how you're going to perform. So therefore, you need to think, how am I going to do that? So only today I saw along the A3 here in London a massive digital billboard of a dental group trying to promote dental implants. You hear on the radio stations such as LBC and Heart, some well-known names trying to promote dental implants in a day. So there's more and more competition, there's more and more money coming into dentistry, not necessarily from dentists, but from other corporate vehicles seeing the opportunity in dentistry and thinking, oh, I'd like a slice of that action as well. So therefore, you need to run a practice in a much more ship-shape and commercial approach, as opposed to running a practice maybe as you've done 5 or 10 years ago. So it's really important to really nail down and identify what are the things that are going to make your practice succeed and become even more profitable, as opposed to having the profit etched away by maybe perhaps other competition out there. So these are just some general figures, but let me go on to what the tips are and what I want to cover tonight. So if I look at the characteristics of successful dental practices, it's people, okay? And it's not only dental practices, it's actually any business. And there's a great book by a writer called Jim Collins, who wrote a book called Good to Great many years ago. And his view was really had to turn a good business into a great business. You really need to make sure you've got the right type of people in your business. And therefore, that goes back to hiring and retaining superstars within your business. Now, we've all been there. We've hired staff and realized very early on, oh, why did I hire that person? And really regretted it because they won't leave and you can't get rid of them. We've seen that in our own dental clinics. I've seen that in clients' clinics. I've even seen it in my accountancy firm. You've hired people, they were great at interview, but then pretty much after week 1, when the dust settles, things aren't as you expected. So, but if you look at quality businesses, quality practices, the real top-notch businesses hire and retain really good people. And so and how do they do that? Well, trial and error is one way. But if you look at recruitment, you've got to recruit thoroughly and hire the best people for that role. So the first thing you have to do is think about, what is it you're trying to hire for? What's the role? And really be quite detailed about the job description. If you've got a detailed job description, that's very helpful. Then obviously circulate that description out there, whether it's to other agencies or whether it's on websites or Indeed.com or wherever it may be, and put that out there. Then obviously through hiring these people, you need to then sift through CVs when they send them in and then see who you want to interview. And that interview process is actually very important. And I know some of our clients, when they interview people, they'll have various team members interview that person, not just hire them straight away, but various people, including other management, other team members, other dentists, to see if that person will actually fit within the team environment. And then they may carry out personality trait testing, and you may even put them in a kind of a role play type of situation as well. Now, I know in my wife's clinics, when we hire dentists, we put them through that whole process. And one of the aspects we always do something called a DISC model, where we're understanding their personality and their profile and how will they fit into the team, because that's everything. And the other angle we'll do with dentists, I know, is we'll actually do a clinical assessment on them. So we'll give them some study models and let them go away, look at them, look at the x-rays, and then come up with a treatment plan and see if they can actually come up with a treatment plan, and what would it be and how would you do it, okay? Because that tests various skills. It tests their analytical skills, it tests their communication skills, it tests will they be able to do some selling skills, it tests everything. So it's imperative at that stage to hire the right people, and to do that is to have those barriers, to have that testing early on through the recruitment process. In addition, I've put here, always get the right people on the bus and move on anyone else. And that's very true. I've seen it firsthand in businesses where we've had the wrong people on the bus or the wrong people in the business, and the business just plods along. Eventually, when you manage to move that person on and you get the right people on the bus, that business can fly to the moon, or that business can fly to the moon. It can do anything. So it's all about getting those right people. Now, I'm fully aware, I know in dental practice, that sometimes you have to hire. You might need a nurse because your nurse has gone pregnant and you can't find it. You need someone quickly, or someone's got sick and you need to replace them. But if you're going to do that, make sure you hire people on maybe on a temporary basis, and see how they are. Don't commit to everything and then realise you may have hired the wrong person. In addition, one of the things you may really want to consider is, and this kind of goes against the grain of many businesses out there, but my view, and it's pretty clear now, you've got to pay your superstars well. You've got to pay the good people you want to retain around you well. If you don't, they'll be easily motivated to go somewhere else. And if you don't, they might not perform to their best performance. So when I say, well, it doesn't have to be over the market odds, but it should be a decent remuneration, that they feel that they're worthy, and that they want to stay and help you grow that business. And so of this last phrase, and you may have heard it before, you've got to pay your superstars well, but because if you pay peanuts, you're going to attract the wrong type of person, someone who just wants a job and might not be able to perform. You might sometimes get lucky, but you want to, once you've retained someone, and if someone's doing a job, you want to retain them, because the most expensive thing is if you lose that superstar, you've got to start again, okay, and find another superstar, which is time costly, money costly, and not necessarily the best thing to have in place. So, right, let's move on. Okay, so tip 1, hire and retain superstars. Number 2, I suppose this kind of links up with one of my later tips, okay, but always put your patients first. So this is what superstar practices do, or top performing practices do, is they make their patients feel very valued, and not just like any other patient. Now, you'll have your run-of-the-mill patients, but you'll have some nicer patients or special patients that you may do bigger treatment plans on, or who you have a very good relationship with, or you have a very good relationship with your team. They will be your referrers. So it's important, really important, to build a culture of where patients really want to come to your practice, and they have an environment that they feel secure, safe, happy, and welcomed. And the dentistry, in many ways, is the byproduct. It's the secondary product. It's how they feel, how those patients are made to feel is the most important thing. If they're made to feel great, that will be the thing that makes all the difference. So one question you should ask yourself is, how are you currently making patients feel special? How? And this kind of overlaps into my other slide on customer care or patient care later on. But in order to put the patients first, you'll never be able to do that on your own. You need to have that team who are going to be able to help you put the patients first. And to me, it goes back to tip one, is hire those right people in the first place. If you hire the right people, they'll be able to deliver really good care and put the patients first without fail. So it's kind of which comes first, the chicken or the egg? Should I hire the team first or should I get the patients first? And in an ideal world, you want to be getting good patients through the door, but you need to be able to service them. Therefore, you need to build that team. So it's all about getting that right team first in place. Get that right team. Get the right team. Things will be a lot easier for your business. And this is going to be a theme throughout this whole session today. Hopefully, you'll probably realise by the end of it, it's like, my goodness, Aaron, it's just all about the team, isn't it? And to some extent, yes. Okay, there are other things we have to consider, but the team make a huge difference to making sure that the patients feel happy and feel welcomed. Now, I know in our own clinics and through the Neem Tree, one of Smita's big bugbears is making sure that the patients are always felt that they're the most important person in the practice. It's not the team, it's not the dentist, but the patients that feel they're made to feel the most special in that practice. So there's always a follow-up call by the dentist if the patient's had a big treatment plan or a difficult treatment procedure. And if their dentist can't do it, the reception team will. And at the same time, for patients who have had a big treatment plan, I know in one case or several cases where we tend to buy them lunch or take them out for dinner or make them feel special to go and celebrate their new care or to send them to the Ritz with their family, little things like that. But people remember that, okay? It makes them feel special. And that's really what is really important. Putting your patients first above everything else, okay? Above everything else, because that if they feel that they've been cared for, they will that'll speak volumes in terms of referrals. So let me crack on to number 3. All right, becoming a leader. Now I'm going to be talking on leadership and team a little bit more in the week, but I'm just going to introduce it here today. And the point here is you need to lead your team where you want them to go and set the expected standards. So this goes back to you having a very clear vision of what you want to achieve in your business. Because if you have clarity of your vision, you can then say, I want to get to that destination. This is what I want to achieve. If you're clear, then you can communicate that to your team, okay? And they will then help you achieve to reach that objective, reach that goal. So in many ways, it's having clarity of what you want to achieve and then leading your team there. You can't do it on your own, okay? You just cannot do it on your own. You've got to get the buy-in of all the people in your team to get them to that destination where you want to get to. And it may be to have 1 practice, it may be to have 2 practices, it may be to have 100 practices, maybe have 1,000 practices. I don't know what that is, but it's teamwork that's going to help you get there, okay? Now, if you have the wrong team, as I said at the beginning, don't bother, okay? You're going to struggle and you need to start again and then find that right team. And as Jim Collins said, once you've got the right team on the bus, then it's together, not on his own, not the bus driver, not you, but together you will drive that bus to the destination that you together want to get to, okay? So really think about what your end goal is, what's your objective, what's your vision, and then find that right team who can get on that bus, who can help you achieve that, getting to that destination, and then together, with some thought, go to try and get to that destination. Sounds really easy, doesn't it? It's not, because you're dealing with people and you're dealing with issues and you're dealing with emotions, and this is hard. Okay, on black and white on a piece of paper, it sounds very easy, but it's actually very difficult. And the way to overcome that and finding the right team and getting everyone together and getting everyone singing off the same hymn sheet and getting on the bus and going in the right direction, however you want to look at it, one of the keys is to be a great listener. And if you listen to your team, many a time they will tell you what needs to be done, because a great team will support the leader. And if I have to stress here, a great leader will not want to do everything themselves. A great leader will empower his key team members to go for it and to do it, and for them to celebrate their successes as well, and for them to learn from their mistakes as well. But your job as a leader is to get them to take those steps, because they'll only feel good about themselves, they'll only feel empowered about them taking those steps, and they'll only be the people who will get good reward, hopefully, but feel that they've achieved something. So your job is to identify the right team and then make sure that those people go and do what they have to go and do, and give them all the support in the world they need to. You don't do it. If you do it, what was the point in hiring them? They need to go and do it. So don't try and control them. And I've seen quite often in business, quite often in practices, where really good people are thwarted by the business owner or the business leaders because they don't have any control. Okay, they don't have an opportunity to have their voices heard, and that slows the business and that stagnates the business. So if I could give a really good point here is be a great listener and then empower that team members. And you might agree with some of the points, might not agree with some of them. That's fine. Tell them, but give them the direction and then give them the power to actually go for it. Okay, because then you're creating mini entrepreneurs within your own business, which will only go and help and grow your business, which will only help you become a more profitable practice. Okay, so tip 3: if you don't have natural leadership skills, doesn't matter. You can learn certain leadership skills, and then you can learn. You can obviously learn great listening skills, and you can obviously get the right people on the bus to help you get to that objective. Okay, so tip 3 is become more of a leader. Number 4, I'm not going to go into a great deal of information here, but get a grip of the numbers. Review all costs annually in your practice. Shop around, and are you getting value for money? Well, yes. As an accountant, I think it's very important that you have a grip of the numbers. And maybe I'd take this a bit too blasé because this is within my blood, I guess. But it's very important in all business to know your figures. So I've talked about costs here, but really what you should be doing is understanding your business performance on a quarter by quarter, or at least a quarter by quarter basis, or maybe a monthly basis, on where the revenues are, what the costs are, what's making you money within your business, and what's actually losing you money in your business. And that's really important to have that. So if you've got, if you haven't already, you should be thinking about something like cloud accounting with Xero, which we can help you introduce, which is very inexpensive, and you can get your performance very quickly online, and it all links up to your bank account. So very important to get a grip of the numbers. Now, what you're going to do with those numbers? Well, firstly, you can look at how you're going to negotiate your costs, and look at trends and see if you can shop around for dental materials or labs or marketing or anything maybe. I know very recently we've changed our supplier from one very well-known dental material supplier to someone else, primarily because we thought their service, first company service, was appalling, and secondly, their costs weren't a great deal. I'm sure we were being charged more, so we decided to negotiate with someone else, and they've taken the business away, which is a lot of money lost to that company. So get your costs under control, know your numbers, okay? And one of the ideas is that you incentivize your team to keep numbers within a budget. Okay, so if you set up a budget, get your team member to stick to that budget month by month. If they go over the budget, they don't get a bonus. But if you give them a budget and they stick within it, they get an extra 50 quid or whatever it might be. They get them to stick to it. So get a grip of the numbers and really make sure that you get a grip of the figures and understand what your figures are telling you. Now, if you're not sure what those numbers are telling you, that's fine, but you can always ask people like myself or any other financial orientated person to help you get some understanding of what the figures are telling you. Because the figures in many ways can tell the story of the business, and that can then also help you interpret and to make better decisions. And that's really what I'm trying to get to here. If you get a grip of the numbers, you can really get to make better decisions for your business. Right, let me move on. Number 5. Number 5 is build a digital brand. Now, before I do that, I'm going to try and get you online here. I'm going to get a website up. Bear with me a second. I'm just going to show you a website. I'll show you. Right. This is, when I say build a digital brand, I'm talking about something like this. Okay. Now, we'll go into this in a bit more depth on later in the week, but this is the Neem Tree Dental Practice website, and this is kind of relatively new, maybe about 6-7 months old. And we've had various iterations of websites over the last few years, and this is our latest kind of offering. So as you can see, it's got some stylish images. Well, that's Smeeta on a charity mission. That's another lady. And we've spent a lot of time on building this up. We've got 4 sites: Fleet Street, Esher, Wandsworth, Notting Hill. We've got a video there. We talk about featured treatments. You can enter your code to find your nearest clinic. We've got CT scanner. We've got various social media aspects going on. In addition, if you look here, we've got under general, we've got aspects of all the range of services that we may provide. As you can see, if you dig into each page, we go to children's dental health, for example. Hopefully a page will come up. Talking about dental health, talking about the different treatments, where's it all available, frequently asked questions, okay. Specialists, similarly, we've got all these things about specialisms, aesthetics, which we do at certain clinics, locations, the different locations of the clinics, about, there's a blog, to be honest with you, I'm not sure if we've blogged that recently, and then we've got contact. But one of the things I really want to highlight here also is we've got these numbers here. If you see all these numbers here, if you did it on your computer, those numbers would be different on your computers, because we've got something called call tracking. So every viewer will get a different telephone number, and we can track where that number is coming from through our systems, and we can also then match which page they called up, and we can check the call, and we can record the call, and all that type of stuff. So you can see it. So we can hear if a patient came through Google pay-per-click, they will then come to a particular clinic, they'll call a particular number from a particular page, and if we want to go back to that and listen to what the receptionist said, we can do that, okay? One of the big things we've been doing lately is online booking. So if we go to, let's say, Surrey Esher, this is our online booking system. It ties in with our software system for Software of Excellence. It's a bit clunky, but it kind of does the job at the moment. So you can book an appointment. If I click here, you can book an appointment with Dr. Nuno Ferreira, for example. Okay, so we've got different things, and we're trying out some online booking clinics. Esher, I know, you book in advance, you you pay. And our Wandsworth one, we don't get people to pay; they just book it. We're just seeing how it's working, and we haven't decided which is the best option yet. But that's kind of where we are at the moment. Okay, so when it comes to saying build a digital profile, embrace it. Let me go back to my slides now. So where have they got? Hopefully this will come up. Bear with me a second. Hopefully you can. Yeah. Okay. So what I'm alluding to here is build a digital brand. So website, so I've just shown you very briefly. But then there are things such as search engine optimization, pay-per-click. Now, you won't be able to do all of these yourself. You need a team to do these. If you're going to do it properly, you need a good team. It could be another agency, or it could be someone internally that you hire, and you master these and you build a team to support you to do this. Okay, but the world is moving, and I think everything's moving digital. Everyone's on a phone. Everything's phone driven. Everything's mobile driven. Everything's online driven, and that's kind of where we are putting all our efforts from a marketing perspective into the business. And then one of the things you'll need to do is build a brand where you can measure results. So you can see the number of views of a clinic, of your clinic. You can see the number of click-throughs rates on your clinic. But what I'm trying to allude to is focus your marketing efforts online. Focus them very heavily online. So I will go into greater depth later in the week on building on the marketing as a whole, and digital will certainly feature as part of that. So tip 5 is that. Let's crack on. Let's make sure I've done this right. Right. Done that wrong. Sorry. Okay, tip 6. The 80-20 rule. It's called the Pareto principle, named after an Italian economist many years ago. And in essence, 80% of your headaches come from probably 20% of your patients, or 80% of your referrals come from, again, 20% of your patients. And at the same time, 80% of your income probably comes from 20% of your services. So it's that 80-20 rule. And it's a matter of thinking, okay, where do I put my efforts in? And this is, I suppose, a point of leverage, isn't it? It's thinking, how can I leverage a little bit of effort to get me a big result? And if you see it in clinics, I see this quite often where people might be doing more Invisalign, or they might be doing more implants, because it takes only 20% of their time, but they get a bigger revenue pop from it. Okay, it could be, or for instance, someone might be doing a lot of crown and bridge work. Again, it's that thinking, how can I apply the 80-20 rule to my business, in terms of, not just in terms of services that you provide, but in terms of your time that your team spend about getting that result. And so it's 80-20 is basically a 1 to 5, or 1 to 4 rather, a 1 to 4 result. I put 20% in and I'll get 4 times back. And that's kind of what you want to be thinking. How can I use the Pareto principle to help me get to that 1 to 4 ratio? If you put 1 in and you get 1 back, it's only a 1 to 1. But ideally, you want to get a 1 to 4. Quite often, in certain services, and I've seen this particularly with orthodontics, actually, if you do it right, we introduce that into your clinic quite well, you can get quite a big return for a little bit of effort. And so that's what we've seen over the years. Increasingly, more and more general practices introduce an orthodontist into their clinics, because the hourly rate of an orthodontist is much higher. They only need to come maybe for a few hours a week initially, and you build from that. And the hourly rate generated significantly more than a general GDP. And that could be the same not just for orthodontics, but for perhaps other specialisms as well, such as implants, such as perio. So thinking from a practical level, how can you do that? And that, therefore, it's about finding those other team members that can hopefully add to that business. Okay? And again, 80-20 rule, it sounds very mathematical, but really it's all about the team, getting those right people into your team that you've recruited in a thorough form to come on board and help you achieve that 80-20 rule success. Get the 80-20 rule successful in your business. Right, so let's move on. Just bear with me a second. Just going to check more things. Okay. Right, so right, that's Pareto principle. Right, number 7, pricing. Now, I will be going into this in more depth on Wednesday, I think, or Thursday, I can't remember now, but more depth into pricing. And the real nub of this is to understand the importance of price and the impact discounting can have. So I've seen a lot of clinics over the years where they might have a price, but then the dentist might then say, oh, I'll do you a deal, I'll give you a discount, because people are negotiating on it. And before you know, that discount can have a massive impact on the profitability of the business. So it's really important to understand what your price should be and what discount you can apply to still make it a profitable venture for you. Now, one thing is to know your overheads of your business. Now, how much does it cost to open the door of your practice on a month-to-month basis? How much is it going to cost you to do that? If you know that, that's a good starting point. And then from that, you can then work out how much per hour is that going to cost you, say, over a monthly basis? So if you know all your overheads for an hour, okay, for an hour for one clinic, from that you can then work out, okay, what will my revenue be? What's the revenue I need to make just to break even? Okay, and that's something that's quite useful in telling your team, telling your reception, your practice manager, it's nurses. Okay, just to open the doors of this clinic cost me, let's say, £10,000 a month. Okay, how am I? Therefore, I need to at least make £10,000 to cover that, to cover your staff costs and rent, etc. So understand that, and then anything above that you make would then be profit. So therefore, you need to understand how you're going to price yourself. So one of the things you need to think about is what is the time we're going to be spending on treatments, okay? But then at the same time, how much should I be charging for a service? So now you need to look at what the other, perhaps maybe competitors may be doing in the area. But sometimes looking at competitors can be misleading because they may not have done this exercise either. But work out how much you should be charging per service. So, and that could be based on the overheads that you've got, and then from that working out what you should be charging for that service to make a sufficient margin to cover things such as lab costs, etc. Now, what I will do is go through this in more detail later in the week, but one of the things I would suggest you to do is get a look at each service line that you're doing, each treatment you carry out, and work out how much time it each takes, okay? And then how much that will cost you, not how much it will cost you to do. So for instance, if you do a filling and it takes you half an hour to do a filling, how much is that costing you, okay? And then from that, work out a price to cover that cost and to make a decent profit on top of it. Sounds easy. It sounds difficult. It's not actually that difficult. It just takes a bit of manipulation and understanding the numbers. But getting your pricing is actually fundamental to making a decent profit. A 10% change in your pricing can have a radical effect on your profits, maybe up to 30% increase in your profit. So getting your pricing correct is a very, very important aspect of this. Okay. Right. Right. Team. Back to team. And you're probably going to be fed up with me by the end of this week, hearing me talking about the team all the time. What about me? That's you're thinking. Well, hopefully it will have rewards for you as well. So motivate the team with incentives. Okay. So as I said earlier, you've got to get those right people on the bus. So build a culture of working together and then rewarding the team. Now, we have seen it time and time again that the most successful businesses are the businesses that have a team that work closely together and kind of get the results, as long as they're working to a common goal that their leader has set to them. Okay, so just a simple thing like a thank you goes a long way in a team. Someone does a good job, pat them on the back and say thanks. Okay, people appreciate that. That sometimes is all that's needed. Okay. Other incentives could be to have trips away or money being given or evenings out. But you need to build a culture of fun and wanting the team to succeed. Therefore, if you set them a challenge, don't make it too difficult. Make it a challenge, but you want them to succeed. You want them to hit those targets because they'll only feel motivated and feel, let's do another target. So I know in the Neem Tree, we've had trips away to Barcelona, Ibiza, Paris, lots of dinners out and cash incentives for the team to hit certain targets if the business does well. So for example, if the practice does well, hits a target in each practice, if one of the practices hits a target, the front desk people get an extra £100. If they hit it for 3 months, they'll get on top of that another £500. So, which is unfortunately taxed, but it's a big incentive for people. It's a lot of money for people. So having those incentives in place are very, very valuable. One of the recent trips when they went to Paris was very successful, and it was a great opportunity for the team to bond. Okay, but it was also a great opportunity for people to share ideas, have some fun, and if they're relaxed and having fun away, and when they come back, they're all relaxed and everybody gets on well together. So motivating the team is really important, okay? And sometimes, and I've hands up first, I've made mistakes. I'm not doing it sufficiently enough. I'm too busy with other things in life. And you realise, oh, that's why the team member left. So get those incentives in place. Trial and error. Some things will work, some things won't work. But this goes along with having the right team members, along with having a good pay salary structure for them, having the right pensions for them, having the right flexible working hours if you want that. Maybe in a dental clinic it's not so that affordable to do that, but having that flexible, because it's the team that's going to make the business fly, and it's also the team that's going to make the business fail. Okay, I've got a client who recently hired a team for their practice, or been hiring a team for the practice, and it's fallen flat. Why? Because it's the wrong team. Hiring was done too quickly, a little bit too much in a rush, and the people didn't really gel that well together. And with all the will in the world, you're trying to get it going well. If they're not going to work together, they're not gelling together, the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing, there's no cohesion, it's a pointless task, so you have to start again. Okay. One of the other things is if you set these targets and they achieve these targets, give them the reward. Okay, I've seen it sadly time and time again where people say, I'll give you something, they'll do it and they hit the target and then it doesn't materialize. Okay, there's nothing more demotivating by not receiving something that you were told you're going to receive. So always say what you do and do what you say. There's nothing more demotivating by not doing something you said you were going to. Okay, so and that goes back to integrity. Okay, you as the business owner have to show integrity to your team, and you have to show to them that you're there to support them. So that's tip 8. Let's crack on to the next one. All right, this is an important one. Now, just to highlight, I haven't necessarily given them in any particular order. These are just thoughts that I had over the last few weeks, and these are things that you need to get across. So tip 9, work on the business, not in it. Now, dentists are guilty, very guilty, of doing quite well financially, but why? Because that's the main breadwinner in the practice. He's working in that chair, seeing all the patients, doing all the admin, and getting very stressed. And no wonder, quite often or not, that dentists' health suffers, marriages break down, and basically they're trying to do everything. Okay, and that isn't the solution here. What I'm trying to highlight here is you don't want to be tied to the chair. Now, it's easier said than done because you need to make an income. I get that, but it's trying to build a business that's not so reliant on you doing the dentistry. So you hire good associates who can deliver quality care, and you still may choose to be a dentist and work in a dentist a few days a week. That's fine, but you don't need to work in there for the business to be successful. So my suggestion, and I've seen this time and time again, is common days to take off is a Friday. Take at least one day off, maybe 2 days off, to focus on the practice and the business. So in that day off, it's not a matter of you going to go and play golf, or you may want to in the morning or something, or go sailing. It's actually about going to focus on the business things, not the clinical, not the patients, but on the business. So marketing, like finance, like team development, anything to do with the business per se. That's what you want to be focused on. If you get that right, okay, then business will start moving in the direction you want it to. Okay, and it will give you time to think, to implement, and change what you need to do. Now, I know you might think, oh, this is impossible. I can't do this. Business is reliant on me. I have to be working on the chair, in the patients, and otherwise it will fold. Well, I'm not saying do it immediately. Do it as a transition thing. Start with half a day if you're doing it, then to a 1 day, then be 1.5 days, 2 days. And it will become possible. And this is a conversation I've had with Smita many, many years ago, but it's staying very relevant today. And she had this conversation with me because she said, when we opened up a second clinic at that time, I said, well, how are you going to run that second clinic? Well, I'll go here and I'll go there. I'll work both places. I said, when you get to 3 clinics, you're going to go to everywhere. When you get to 4 clinics, when you get to 5 clinics, how are you going to do that? And I think the light bulb moment came on when she realised that, oh, I can't be everywhere. I can't be everywhere. So and the message I got across to her was that you can't be the monkey and the organ grinder. And that's what I'm trying to stress here. If you want to be the monkey, that's fine. Do your dentistry, that's great, but then employ a team around you to help grow the business, okay? If you want to be the organ grinder, that's great. You might want to do a bit of dentistry, but you need to be able to make decisions, you need to be quick, you need to be rapid, and look at what you can do for your business to grow your business. So remember, work on the business, not in it, okay? Or reduce your time in it. And think about how to do that. And one of the ideas that we had many years ago, and this came from a Smeaton not working in the chairs, thinking, okay, how can we maximise the chair utilisation? No one in the area, for instance, was open on a Saturday, so we opened up on a Saturday. That grew and grew. Now we open on a Sunday in one of our clinics. So we open 7 days a week in one of our clinics. Saturday and Sunday are the busiest days of the week, okay? And our chair utilisation is very high in that clinic already. So, but that came from talking to other businesses, going to find out if there'd be demand for patients on a Sunday. And lo and behold, there was demand on a Sunday. And the dentists who work on Sunday are very happy because they're very busy doing the types of treatments they want to be doing. So work on the business, not in the business. Okay. Tip 10. This kind of goes back to one of the other tips, but it kind of in a slightly different angle. The practices that do really well are ones that care about their team and their patients. So it's about caring. This is a message I'm trying to get across here. Care. You actually care. And you may be struggling financially. You may be going under, or it could be anything in a difficult way. But you're probably in a better position than most. Okay, and therefore it's really important that it gets across the message to your team that you actually care about them. They've got families, they've got mortgages, they've got rent to pay. And it's really important that they feel that you actually care about their issues and their life and their problems, okay? Now, you can't, as your team's getting bigger and bigger, you can't necessarily do it for everybody, but I suppose the spirit or the feeling within the organisation has to be that you care. And that caring comes from the top, okay? It doesn't come from one or two team members being really nice to everybody else and everyone else not being very nice. It actually comes from the top. If you, as the team leader, as the owner, as the manager, as the practice manager, as the owner, instill a culture of you actually care how your team are doing, that culture will disseminate down to the lowest team members, okay? So whether it's the practice manager or the cleaner who comes once a week or twice a week, it's actually you care about them because they have responsibilities. They have to pay their bills, they have to pay their mortgages, they have families, they have problems at home. So really important message here is care about the team that you work with. And then if you care about them, they'll go out full out and go and care about the patients that they're working with, okay? So always remember how you treat others, so that make that a core center of your practice culture. And there's a phrase that I always kind of allude to. It's by Maya Angelou, okay? And if I get this right, forgive me if I get it wrong, it's not what you say or not what you do, it's how you make someone feel that makes all the difference, okay? So it's not what you say, it's not what you do, it's actually how you make someone feel, okay? Now, if you make that person feel cared for and loved for, you've won them over. They're going to do everything and help you out in every way. But if you make them feel that they're scared or they're guilty or they're not valued, then it ain't gonna go anywhere. And you've hired them wrongly, you've got the wrong team member, and they're not going to do anything for you. So actually genuinely care for your team, genuinely care for your patients. That will go a hell of a long way. Okay, right. So, and then number 11. Now, I will go into this later in the week as well, but tip 11 is about focusing on the customer, the patient care, as the number one priority in the business. Now, we take a step back from dentistry per se. You focus on the customer and customer care or customer care delivery as the number one priority in your business. You get that right, most other things will fall into place. And quite often or not, as businesses, we all get this wrong. Okay, myself included, plenty of times you get sidetracked or issues arise or life happens. But if you go back to one central core focus, and if you focus on customer care, and that has to be the remit of your organisation, that's going to help you a hell of a lot more. So if you look at Apple as an example, they built basically a grey computer, metal computer, because people like IBM and stuff are making all these geeky computers like PCs and stuff. They built a product that people would aspire to have, and then they followed up with good customer care. Okay, so you can go in and get it replaced, you can get it changed, and that built that big fan base of Apple. Another example would be going to a very fancy hotel, somewhere like, say, the Ritz-Carlton, and they feel that you're caring about them, and they remember you from, say, your last visit. So if you can get your customer care correct, most other things will fall into place, because your team members that you hire will have to meet the standards that you expect for your customer care. Your marketing will have to meet the standards of your customer care. And it's just focus. If you focus on customer care, period, okay, that will have a fundamental kind of impact on your profitability of your business. Okay, along with all the other things, but tip 11 is the point where I've kind of brought all the points that I think are really relevant. But then tip 11 is thinking, take a step back. If it was just one thing I had to focus on, I would say it's this. Okay, focus on your customer care. Now I'm going to go into this in great more detail on a later session this week. But focus on customer care, and most things will fall into place. And there's a great phrase by my favourite chap, Ray Kroc, who was the founder of McDonald's, and even at the low end of the market. And he said, if you look after the customer, the business will look after itself. And that's from flipping and selling hamburgers at a dollar each. And he's right. So the same principle applies in your practice. Look after your patients, focus on them, and from that, the business will actually fall into place. Okay, we'll go, and the profitability will rise. Period. Okay. So, how long have we been talking over? Almost 55 minutes. So, I hope you haven't tired my voice. My mouth's dry out. I'm dying for some dinner, but I'll move on to wrapping this session up. Yeah. So, I've talked about 11 points here. Okay. But I want you to think about your actions for your practice, for your business. Okay. I want you to think about, review your patient care. What are you doing, and how can you improve it? What is your process? What's your customer care? What's your customer or patient care like? Is it good? Is there room for improvement? Is it terrible? Have you got the right people in the right place helping you achieve the right patient care? Number 2, then review your team. Have you got the right people on the bus? I know I've said that so many times, but get that team. If you want to get the patient care right, you need to get that right team in place. Once you've got that right team, how can you motivate your team? And you might think, well, why do I need to motivate them? You do need to motivate them. Everyone needs motivation. Everyone needs to feel there's a better, rosy future for them, and that's down to you, okay? And that comes from you motivating your team. Number 4, all of these things take time. All these things take effort, and the way to do that is you need to work on the business, not work in the business doing dentistry. You'll never have time to make sure the patient care and the customer care and the team is right and the motivation is right, unless you actually have the time and opportunity to work on the business. And I said earlier, at least one day a week, ideally I'd say 2 to 3 days a week, you work on that business, okay? Or you have a team working for you on that business. And then number 5, review your digital profile and build this further. And I showed you briefly a website of the Neem Tree we had earlier, but it's not just about having a great looking website. You need traffic going to that website. So you need to have search engine optimization, pay-per-click. You know, you've got to have social media interaction. The world has changed in the last 5 years significantly. I know the digital thing's been happening for the last 20 years, but in the last 5 years, things have just got so what's the word? So busy on digitally. If you're not there digitally, no one's going to find you, and no one's going to find you. You won't be able to do your patient care because you may have got no patients to deal with, and therefore, if you haven't got any patients to deal with, you haven't got the right team. So it's a vicious cycle. Okay. So you've got to these are things that you've got to consider. and think about the actions that you could take tomorrow. Okay, so let's move on to the last slide. And finally, it's something I just want you to think about. It's a point to create, and there's something I will allude to later in the week. It's called mad raving fans, and that's what you really want to do. If you get your customer care right, you will get your mad raving fans who will refer. And the way to do that is ultimately adding value to your patients. How can you add more value to their lives? How can you add more value to their needs? Is it providing something unexpected to them? Is it giving them a better experience? Is it having a nicer waiting room? Is it having digital DVD glasses? I don't really know, okay? But you need to think, how can you add more value to your patients that they may think, wow, that was pretty good, okay? That was pretty good. I'm going to tell my friend about it. And that's the premise of what I'm trying to get across here today. There's so many things that you can improve the profitability of your practice, and we will go into more detail on these steps over the next few days. But leave you with that thought. How can you add more value to your patients and their lives? If you get that right, okay, the profits of your practice will rocket. Thank you. Right. Let me stop the share. I hope you've enjoyed this evening's session. I will see you again tomorrow at about 8 o'clock. We're just 2 minutes to go. Just want to check if anyone's got any questions here. If you've got any questions, please do fire away. I have no problem in answering. Unless I've put you all to sleep, okay? Maybe if you're in Australia, you're just waking up, but not a big deal. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed this session tonight. We will be talking in more depth about marketing tomorrow, I believe. And I'm quite excited about that because it's a subject I really enjoy. And I'll be talking about more about mad raving fans, customer care, and all those other interesting areas. Okay. Well, thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed that. And I'll see you everybody tomorrow evening. Bye. Oh, I will be emailing a summary of this over the week as well. Cheers. Bye-bye.